All right, welcome back to the channel. Today's episode previewing Duke versus Arkansas. I got my good friend with me, Christian Odjakjian, ODJ Hoops. Christian and I are now co-workers with Action Network. It's been a long time coming since you've been last on the channel, Christian. First off, happy Thanksgiving to you and yours. Second off, welcome back, baby. I'm happy to talk basketball with you.
Great to be here, man to man. Last time I was here, I think I went on a 5-minute rant about Caleb Love in Arizona. So good to be free from that. Ready to talk Duke and Arkansas.
Yeah, he's still doing his thing in the NBA as he has a 26-point game against Golden State, and then obviously laid like a 3-point egg the next game or whatever in a 5-game stretch. So he's still doing Caleb Love things just at the next level. You've watched a lot of basketball this past week, have you not?
I have watched too much basketball, but there's no such thing, right?
Yeah, I think we're in the same boat. Thanksgiving normally is like a day off for us, but for good news, for the good, we will be watching more basketball. I used to just be accustomed to watching my Cowboys on Thanksgiving. Now I got to watch NFL and Duke as they play Arkansas and Chicago, where obviously you're not in Chicago right now, but that's where you do. That's your home. Am I not mistaken?
No, you're right. And I was at Alabama, Illinois, which was a neutral in Chicago, but it was all Illinois fans. I'm interested to see how these two fan bases travel on a holiday and shape that environment. Also, real quick on Thanksgiving, it's socially acceptable during family time to be watching football. But last year I was getting some crap for wanting to watch Northwestern Butler on my phone on Thanksgiving. College basketball is now a Thanksgiving thing, so break the stigma and fight to get college basketball on the TV.
Break the stigma. I love it. Look, it's going to be a good game. It's been great basketball this week so far, and now with Duke and Arkansas, they play tomorrow at CBS on Thanksgiving night, 8 p.m. I'm trying to find the spread. Do you know the spread off the top of your head?
Ken Pom has it at Duke -10 right now. I imagine it'll be somewhere around 7 or 8.
-7 or 8. Yeah, that's probably where I think it's going to be. And if you hear any sirens, Christian is in New York?
I'm sorry, I just muted myself because I'm over in Jersey City right now, across the river.
It's okay, dude. It happens. It happens. What happens when you're in a big city? But yeah, so Duke probably about a 7-point favorite, 7.5-point favorite. We're going to dive into it now, Christian. Both of you and I watched some film before this. What did you see with Arkansas?
Obviously, a super talented Arkansas team that, if they were able to close that game out against Texas Tech, would have been playing a Florida team that they had seen before with a chance to make the Final Four. And you bring back some key pieces from that team and some really exciting freshmen. Malik Thomas wasn't a guy that a lot of people knew Darius Acuff's name just from rankings more, but Malik Thomas has been arguably more impressive to me. And, bringing a couple of bigs in the transfer portal, Malik Ewan and Nick Pringle, who Ewan is a guy that they kind of eased in. He wasn't playing a lot. He had 3 assists last game against Jackson State, and he's a guy who can be a little bit of an offensive hub there. I'm interested to see how much he'll play in this one. But what stands out to me about Arkansas is you played Samford and Winthrop down to the wire at home. And these are decent. Like, Winthrop's probably going to win their league. Samford could win their league. Like, these are good mid-majors. And they both were kind of lighting it up from deep. Samford hit 10 threes, Winthrop hit 15. But that's kind of what stands out to me about Arkansas. I feel like it's kind of what I expect out of a Cal team, honestly, early on the season. They're so talented. And that ceiling is always going to be there of what they can be. But that game in, game out consistency and just kind of playing down to their competition sometimes is something you can get from them. I'm not going to act like I'm so much more confident that they beat a horrible Jackson State team by 50, right? But I will give them credit that they played Michigan State tough on the road, lost 69-66. But my number one takeaway from that game was they scored a third of their points in transition that game. Like, they had to get points in transition off the offensive glass, because sometimes in the half court, as talented as they are offensively, it's just going to be – it's cow ball. Sometimes it's just a little disorganized, I guess.
Yeah, no, you're right. They scored a third of their points against Michigan State in transition, and that's kind of just the tell of what they are right now. They are a get out and run team. They're 15th fastest team in the country. 172 of their 547 points have been scored in transition. Cal always loves those fast guards, a fast backcourt, and he has them with Acuff, Malik Thomas, DJ Wagner too. Like, they love to get out and push. That is like the one Achilles heel, if you will, for Duke. I know they're 7-0, but against Kansas jumped out to that lead and was leading in the first half because they were getting out in transition against Duke. So if I know John Shire's staff like I think I do, that's going to be a point of emphasis. It has been a point of emphasis for the staff since the Kansas game.
Yeah, absolutely. And it made sense that Kansas was trying to do that because they knew it was going to be really tough without Darren Peterson. That was their first game without Darren Peterson to be productive against this Duke defense. And to give them credit, they definitely looked good. They were up. They scored 22 points. Like in the back half of the first half was really tough for Kansas. Honestly, I was just impressed with Kansas's performance in that game. Like I didn't think they were going to be able to compete and have a chance to win. But you're right. I think transition defense is the number one thing for Duke, and kind of getting a taste of that with Kansas, another pretty athletic team that definitely wanted to get out and run off misses and be forcing turnovers. So I think that was a good kind of practice run away for Duke, and that should be absolutely point of emphasis, and one that I think that they can't. Arkansas is super talented, so it's tough to stop those guys, in certain 2-on-1, 1-on-1 situations, of course. But I think Duke is capable of slowing that transition attack.
Yeah, for sure. And it's going to be a really good matchup with a few guys. But for me, I really am looking forward to Acuff against Caleb Foster with Caleb Foster's defense. I'm not saying one-on-one like, hey, Acuff against Caleb Foster's must-see TV. But when it comes down to Caleb Foster guarding the ball against a very quick guard in Acuff, we were kind of robbed of that. We were robbed of that with Darren Peterson not playing against Duke, against Dame Sarr and Caleb Foster, and just the length Duke has on the wings. Now you see that with Darius Acuff and Malik Thomas. Like, I'm very interested to see how they play offensively against Caleb Foster and Dame Sarr in the half court. If Duke can slow them down in transition and make it a half court game, I think that's where you can really make Arkansas struggle, because they have guys that can go get a bucket, but it's a lot different when the floor is compact in the half court offense. Yeah.
And also defensive rebounding. I think Duke, obviously, with Boozer and with Gongba and with Malik Brown, it's still going to be a challenge, though, against the way that, Brazil and Pringle and even guys like the wings, like Knox and Richmond, just big athletic bodies crashing and, those margin kind of ways of scoring in transition, offensive rebounds, in the free throw line. Like, that's how Arkansas is going to score most of the time. So it's kind of the cherry on top when things are going well in the half court and the ball's popping a little bit, or Acuff's getting in the lane and making plays for guys where they can score, just on a normal possession.
Yeah, and one thing I'll give Cal credit for, a couple of things. Like, this team's very unselfish. They got 3 guys that average 4 or more assists, which surprises me. Normally, I just think of Calipari. I think of close your eyes, go get a bucket, and it's just a little ISO ball. You got 3 dudes with 4+ assists on the team, and they're a good defensive team. Like, on Synergy, I was very shocked to see how good, basically from the whole roster, are good defenders. And one in particular is, where is he at? Nick Pringle. Nick Pringle, the offensive players are shooting 5 of 24 from the field against him. They have not made a shot around the rim against Nick Pringle this season. 0 of 6 around the rim. Obviously, Pat Gungba on the low block, Cam Boozer trying to, bully his way inside. That's going to be a really good matchup, seeing Nick Pringle's defense against a talented offensive player in Pat Gungba, and a really good test for Cam Boozer, who has struggled finishing around the rim in the half court for Duke as well.
Yeah, Duke is second nationally with shooting 66% from inside the arc, and Cam Boozer himself is shooting 63% on twos. But it has been a point of contention, absolutely, with especially in like the draft sphere, and Nick Pringle and Brazil. Yeah, that's some tough bodies to finish around. But something that stands out to me about Duke on tape has just been that action where either Boozer or Malik or Pat has it up top, and it's Isaiah Evans and one of the other bigs, and either Isaiah's going backdoor or popping out for a 3 or for a DHO, or the big slipping. Like, I feel like that has just been, I don't even know how you would describe what that's actually called, but like the synergy, the unselfishness, the spacing, it's just really tough to guard. In Texas and Kansas, I think I went into those games thinking Duke was going to win fairly easily, and I honestly came away impressed with Texas and Kansas at the way they battled. Those are athletic, more just really athletic teams. And Duke ends up winning both those games by double digits. But of course, those other teams like especially in the first half, were absolutely in it. So I think this one could look similarly. It's the first half. It's really close. Arkansas is really guarding, right? They're getting out and running a bit. They're hitting some shots. And then the second half, Duke kind of settles in and just in the half court setting on both ends of the floor, just is the better team and proves that. But I don't know. That's just maybe I'm just thinking that way because that's kind of what we saw against Kansas and Texas.
Yeah, this Duke team, I talked about how Arkansas is very unselfish. They have 3 guys averaging 4 or more assists. Duke really coming into the season is like, who? Caleb Foster is going to take the leap. Caden Boozer, is he going to be a point guard? Really, it's fine because everybody on that floor is going to pass the ball. They all can pass, and the front court is honestly the best passers on the team. Cam Boozer, Pat Gumbo, Malik Brown are 3 of the best passers on the court at all times when they're there. And so this Duke team, I think now in 5 of the 7 games, they've had 20 or more assists. Like they spread the pill around. And like you said, that action with the back screen, the back cut, the slip screen action, if you defend that, congratulations. Well, now that means you overextended to give up to eliminate the back cut. So here comes Isaiah Evans on a DHO that's going to pull it. And if you hedge that too hard, he's going to turn the corner and then throw the lob to the roller. And it's just like, how do you guard that action? And you don't. You just hope that Duke misses shots, and sometimes they have. Like the Texas game and the Kansas game, Duke did not shoot particularly well from 3. Isaiah did. Like if you look at the Texas percentages, I think Duke shot like 40% from 3 against Texas, but Isaiah was 3 of 7. Everybody else, I think, accumulated for like 33%. So it wasn't like Duke shot it well. And I know you've seen me on Twitter, but if Duke plays with a Spalding basketball in Chicago against Arkansas, take the under. I'm telling you. We have data from last year. They didn't shoot well with Spalding balls. Duke's first game last year, Christian, was a Spalding ball where Colin Knippel was 5 of 20, and you had some Duke people on Twitter saying, bench him, he's terrible. Put in Isaiah Evans and start him. This white dude is terrible. Obviously, we saw how the season went and what he's doing now. But my point remains, Spalding basketballs and Duke, I just don't think they practice with him. I just don't think, like, leading up to the game, I think they just practice with their custom Wilson or Nike balls, whatever they play with in Cameron. And then game day, it's like, hey, let's try and figure this out. And you see them just clanking around.
Another interesting note just on that shooting, I mentioned Samford and Winthrop, the 2 teams that Arkansas played that, played Arkansas well at Bud Walton. Both those teams are top 50 nationally in 3-point rate, and Duke is too. Like those teams are running good stuff. And they were drilling some tougher threes, but like, I definitely think that Evans and whether it's Darren Harris coming off the bench and knocking down a couple, or Kamania being able to knock down a couple, like being able to stretch Arkansas out a bit and just losing them a bit on some of those actions were something that gave Samford and Winthrop success.
Yeah, I mean, Calipari, he stated long ago when Duke beat Kentucky with Zion and then by a billion, he talked about how like they haven't even put in like an offense, or they didn't put a defense in, or whatever it was. I just remember him saying like he takes the first half of the year to really figure out his team, and then when the new year happens, that's when he really establishes like an offense or a defensive identity. And you honestly, I scoffed at that when he said it, but then I've been keeping tabs on him since then, and he's not wrong. Like his teams always get better throughout the year. Like they just come off flat. I mean, that year against Duke, they came off flat, but then that team with Kentucky, Tyler Harrow and them, that was a good team, come to find out. And then last year with Arkansas, like I think they started pretty well, but then in conference play, they did not start well in the SEC play to where people weren't happy with them. You write off Calipari, then what does he do? He wins at Kentucky when he comes back to Kentucky, and he does well as the season progresses. But I still think, since we're technically in November, I think this Arkansas team's not complete yet to where you can, I think Duke's farther ahead than Arkansas is right now in terms of a complete team.
Yeah. Last year they were 11-2, lost that first 5 games of conference play, and then weirdly when Boogie Flang got hurt, they kind of started winning. But it was, of course, that game at Kentucky that kind of turned everything around, which also just makes me think if Arkansas is getting 8-9 points here, it's a little tempting with Cal being that big of an underdog. And like I said, Texas and Kansas, their athleticism and their ability to run and like was able to hold their own against Duke in a game where I'm like, Duke is clearly a better team and has more going on both sides of the ball. So like, I don't know. I think it's a mistake to like. I think Duke is better on both sides of the ball. I think they're the clear better team. I mean, the rankings reflect that. The metrics reflect that. That's not new information. But going on the road to Michigan State, and yeah, it was a bit ugly. Yeah, they needed to rely on transition. Like that's a good Michigan State team, and Kentucky was a mess in that game as well too. Michigan State shot 1 of 14 from deep. Like that would have been that would have kind of been picking them off in a sense. But I guess what I'm saying is. A Cal team as this big of an underdog, a neutral site, like on a holiday, like you're going to get your best effort. And like Malik, there's a handful of NBA players on this team, and a guy like Malik Thomas can hit 6 threes in a game, right? Like Knox and Richmond are big, strong, athletic wings, and like you said, the team is unselfish. Like they do pass it well when they are able to create advantages. It'll be interesting, but I definitely think Arkansas is going to, like you said, get better as the season goes along and like maybe be tough to read. Like they'll lose at home to some like middling SEC team and then go on the road to the best team in the conference and beat them. Like that's just what Cal does.
It's crazy. It's maddening, but he's a Hall of Fame coach and he gets it done. And I do agree with you that if the spread gets a little out of hand and it is like 8.5, then I mean I don't feel confident with that being the spread being that big to where I'd probably bet Arkansas plus 8.5 because I think it's going to be tough. I think, like I said, both backcourts for different reasons are going to be fun matchups in the front court with what Arkansas can do defensively against the talented offensive Dukes. And so I want to ask you this, Christian, before we wrap up. Give me your not the best player for each team, but your personal X factor for Arkansas while they'll win the game and Duke's X factor while they'll win the game.
For Arkansas, I'm going to say Trevon Brazile defensively. Is he able to protect the rim? Is he able to stay on the floor, make things difficult for Cam Boozer, I guess, parlaying him in Pringle? And for Duke, in both those Texas and Kansas games, like you said, Duke did not shoot the ball well from deep outside of him. So I feel like he kind of needs to hit 3 or 4 threes. And the threat that he presents in that action we described of just curling off, like he was hitting crazy threes against Texas and Kansas too. Like he's a difficult shot maker. That's what he does. And I think Duke is going to need him to do that in this game.
Yeah, I like that a lot. So you have Brazile and you have Isaiah Evans as your 2 X factors. I'll pivot because I had Brazile as my X factor for Arkansas, but I'll go different. And I will go Malik Thomas. Malik Thomas is obviously their leading scorer, and he's been efficient as of late, but he was inefficient to start his career with Arkansas, and they need the efficient Malik Thomas against a very good Duke defense to show up. Because if he gets 17 points on 6 of 15, Arkansas loses the game. Like he has to show that he can go like 6 of 11, get to the line a few times, and then obviously his facilitating, he's going to get his 4+ assists because the way they run. But the X factor for them, for Arkansas, is your best player has to shoot efficiently from the field to win the game. If he goes 6 of 15, it's going to be a loss. If he goes 6 of 11, they can win the game. And did you want to say anything about Malik there?
I had one other question I wanted to ask you.
Yeah.
Where are you on the Caleb Foster, Caden Boozer dialogue? Do you think that Shire has a plan for Boozer to eventually be the starter? I just think about Foster's minutes, how they kind of changed over the years. I know, but I feel like Foster's playing pretty well right now. He's shooting the 3 better. Obviously, love what he brings defensively. He's taking good care of the ball. Do you think that is worthwhile discourse to talk about? Is the team better with Caden Boozer playing more minutes, or is it just something that'll naturally unfold as the season goes along?
No, I mean, that's a valid question because it is something that people, that Duke fans I see every game basically on Twitter, like, pro or con, either one. And honestly, I think it's good as is. I think Caleb Foster has proven to be the starting point guard this year, like 22 minutes a game, 8 points a game, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, and shooting 50% from the field, 46% from 3. And what he does defensively, I don't know off the top of my head, I want to say it's like 25% field goal against on synergy when guys are trying to score against him, and he's one of the best on the team. And so his defensive mentality, he really can stifle up a guy in the half court defense. And he is honestly very good. He's very underrated in that aspect because people like to look at with point guards, they like to look at the full numbers. But I think he's done a fantastic job of playing his exact role. He's never going to give Duke like 15 and 5 assists in a game. He has a good role and he's sticking to it. And Caden Boozer has been really good in his role. Like Caden Boozer, he'll either have like 6 assists in a game or 6 rebounds in a game. When he comes on the court, he's doing one or the other, being a really good facilitator. His bread and butter is pushing tempo after a made basket and getting a quick 2. Like he's honestly should be playing at UNC with the way that he runs after a made basket, how UNC has their Carolina break. He's fantastic. But the thing with Caden Boozer, where he struggles, is defense. Like Howard went after him, and they scored against him. Fun fact for you, by the way, Christian, Duke's given up 1 kill shot all year, and it's against Howard. Howard went on a 10-0 run.
Shout out to Bison.
So, but Caden Boozer, that's where he's got to improve is one-on-one defense, because I think teams are shooting 45% against him when guarded by him. And so to make this long answer even longer, I'd go Caleb Foster still starting, and then Caden Boozer's fine at where he's at. And then, as the game progresses, they both play the same amount of minutes, 22 each.
They'll share the floor sometimes too, right?
They'll share the floor with Caden playing the 1, Caleb playing the 2. And, if Shire feels like Caden's a better closer, then maybe Caleb sits. And Caden had 3 huge possessions in the second half against Kansas, back-to-back of layups and a catch-and-shoot 3. If he can do that, then I'm all for him closing. But for right now, I think starting-wise, I trust Caleb Foster.
Also, real quick, a couple Arkansas statistical notes that we didn't mention. They've been elite at taking care of the ball. They're 11th in turnover percentage offensively. They're great free throw shooting team. They're shooting 80% from the free throw line. And then defensively, they've done a really good job defending without fouling. Of course, that becomes much more difficult when Cameron Boozer and Dominic Sarr and guys like that are in your paint. But just wanted to shout out Arkansas for those areas of strength so far.
Yeah, I mean, that they're a really good team. Like their scores of their games kind of don't show it. Like obviously they lost to Michigan State by 3, which is now looking like a better and better loss. Michigan State has proven to be a really good team. But then sneaking away with a couple wins against Sanford and Winthrop, it's easy to look at that as like, oh, this team's not good. When I watched them on Synergy, I was like, this is a damn good team. Like they're going to be good. Let me do my X factor for Duke, and then I'm going to ask you your prediction. My X factor, I said Malik Thomas because of inefficiency. I feel like I'd be hypocritical if I don't say Cam Boozer because he's been very efficient in games and then inefficient in games. I think that he has to have an efficient game against Arkansas for Duke to take care of business. Like he was 7 of 17 against Kansas, 3 of 12 against Texas. And then obviously when you play Indiana State, you're going to go 13 of 16 and 10 of 12 against Howard when you play inferior defensive opponents. But like I said, Nick Pringle, 0 of 6 offensive players are shooting around the rim guarded by Nick Pringle. That's a good matchup for Cam Boozer. Can he finish around the rim against a physical defensive presence who's been around college basketball for forever? So the 2 leading scorers who can be sometimes inefficient are my X factors. Just, deep analysis there by me. But Christian, give me your prediction. I want to, if you can, give me a score prediction and why.
I'll go Duke 80-75. But what I will say is looking at Duke's non-con schedule of Arkansas, Florida, Texas Tech, Michigan State as the, sorry, Lipscomb for leaving you out there. I have a weird feeling that this is the game that they were most likely to lose, though, of those games. And I think maybe that has more to do with those other teams on their schedule. But I don't know. I think Arkansas, like you said, them playing Winthrop and Sanford tough, that didn't really make me that much down on them as it maybe would be at quick glance. And I don't know. I think the way that Texas and Kansas did find success and were able to stay in those games, like Arkansas is a better team than both of those. And if they are able to run and they are able to make things difficult for Boozer around the rim, and Isaiah Evans is the only one who can make a 3, and maybe Isaiah Evans isn't shooting it well, like Arkansas could win this game. So I want to give them credit, but I still think Duke is a stronger unit on both ends of the floor right now. So I got to pick them to win.
Yeah, no, I understand that 80-75 is almost on the nose of what I picked. Mine's 83-76 Duke against Arkansas. Like I said, I think Arkansas, and like you said, I think they'll keep it close. I will say with Arkansas, Florida, Michigan State, and Texas Tech, 4 out of the next 5 games, mine is Michigan State as like the game where obviously on the road at Michigan State, what they've done, Fears is good. Cohen, I can just close my eyes and picture Cohen Carr having some type of dunk that just blows the lid off to like start to end an 8-0 run or, start an 8-0 run for Michigan State. So I would go in order. I'm not going to do in order because I'm going to talk myself out of a lot of things. But Michigan State won, and then Arkansas is close, second or third. Texas Tech, Christian Anderson, I still have stock on him, and then JT Toppin. Though I don't like his game, he's a menace. So but yeah, look, Duke, Arkansas tomorrow, Thanksgiving night. I am going to have my nap in. I'm already have like 3 plates, and then my nap, and then got some Duke basketball, Christian. So I appreciate you coming on the show, man. We got to do this again. Where can people find your work?
At ODJ Hoops on Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and then if you're into betting, at ODJ Picks on Twitter.
I appreciate it, bro. Have a happy Thanksgiving to you and yours.
Thank you.